And what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It is your friend Sheep Ludes. You may be thinking to yourself, why have you been wearing the same t-shirt in the last 3 videos? I don't know. Am I just a dirty person? Do I just keep putting the same t-shirt on every single day that I wake up? Or am I filming these back to back to back to back? I will let your mind wander on that. Anyhow, we haven't done tier lists all year. Part of the reason for that is because the game hasn't had a huge stable of cards, period, and honestly, it's just been kind of difficult to tier them. But I think we're at a good place now, so we're going to go ahead and do the point guards first, and then obviously shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center after that. I'm feeling good about this because we've already had the pack leaks, so I don't think there's going to be that many point guards that drop this week, but then again, who knows? I could totally be wrong. It's been a while since we've done these, so let's kind of run through it a little bit. S tier, unquestionable best cards in the game. A tier, just a shade under S. I'll explain why each card is in each tier, obviously. B tier, very acceptable cards. Majority of the community are going to use these guys in either their starting lineup or bench. C tier, they have some issues, but they can go out and do things if you really need them to. D tier, they're D tier. They can do one or two things kind of well. I wouldn't recommend running them. F tier, they're not quite trash, but they're close, and trash tier. I rank all the cards within the tiers as well, so if you see a card towards the top of B tier and then a card towards the bottom, they are not the same ranking. They are obviously separated by a whole host of cards, and the point guard tier is one of those tiers where, or one of those positions, I should say, where it's a really weirdly balanced kind of position this year. I feel like all of them are. Let's get started. Jaden Ivey. C. He's a season 1 card. He's all right. I don't think he's B tier. Every one of these cards, you're going to be able to look at them and be like, you know what? I think that card's B tier. And I totally understand that. It's just trying to rank them between both gens and multiple play styles. I would say that Jaden Ivey's like aggressively C tier. Same with Kemba Walker. You could argue Kemba Walker's B tier for you. It just it's subjective. I would say he's C tier. Plays pretty confident defense. The tendencies aren't great. He's got a small player build, jump shot solid, but I would put him towards the top of C tier. LaMelo, A. For certain people, you're going to think you should be S tier. Now, the reason I don't have him in S tier is because of the lack of, the lack of clamp breaker is huge on LaMelo. That sucks. He's not the greatest defensive player. I would put him like aggressively A tier though. Moncrief. Very, very good defender. He can score a little bit too, but I would put him in C for sure. Brandon Jennings. Shout out to Brandon Jennings. He's a good 3 hunting guy, but he's not as good as the guys that are going to be in B tier at that one thing that he excels at. So for that reason, C tier for sure. Nate Archibald, I would also put in C tier. Like, he's fast. He can get to the rim. He's just small. He doesn't bring a whole lot else to your team. Diamond Steph is still B tier. It is really sad that a card came out on day 1 is still so highly ranked within a position. That's wild to me. Cade, B. He's a season 1 card. I would say he's worse than LaMelo for sure. So I'd put him in B tier. Chris Paul, I would put in B tier as well. Like, he's little, but everything I said about Kemba Walker goes kind of triple for Chris Paul. Chris Paul's just like a better version of that card, basically. BJ Armstrong, he can shoot, but I don't think he's really viable at anything else. That being said, I definitely used this dude for a while when he first came out. Sapphire Steph. Now, certain times you're going to see lower tier cards in weird tiers, and you're going to be like, why is that card there? Because they bring intrinsic value in certain aspects, and that's what we have here with Sapphire Steph. Sapphire Steph brings intrinsic value for offline grinding against harder difficulties. Like, he can go out and he can hit step back threes on all-star, superstar difficulty, which is almost invaluable. So for that reason, I have to put him in C. Also, he is 100% better than BJ Armstrong. Trae Young's C tier. I'm not even kidding. I literally think Diamond Steph might be better than Trae. Trae sucks. If they had boosted his defense in any way, shape, or form, he'd be probably up in B tier. But the way they did him now, C. Watch if the Beyond level 40 reward is just a Evo for Trae Young. That would be so funny, honestly. CJ McCollum, he kind of sucks. C tier. I don't like him very much. Pink Diamond Dame is, I would say, better than Trae Young. ever so slightly, but better than Trae Young for sure. Trae Young's got the SIGs though, so it's like offensively he's very good. It's just defensively he's real bad. Garland is definitely better than both of these guys for sure. I think Chris Paul's still better than Garland, but Garland's really good. He's got a really quick jump shot. He can kind of move really well. Nice. Dave Bing, D. Did you expect a random fire and ice guy to be above D? You shouldn't. Kyle Lowry, I actually really like Kyle Lowry, but I'd put him towards the top of C tier. I'm going to drop Dame too. I just don't really like Dame that much. If you want to argue he's B tier for you, I totally could see it, but I don't like him. De'Aaron Fox, B. He's good. I feel like people kind of forgot about him really fast, but you can still run De'Aaron Fox. He gets to the rim at a high clip. Like, he can shoot a little bit. Like, the jump shot's okay. He's aggressively mediocre. Magic, S. Like, S. Magic is crack, dude. I mean, the issue with him is that he kind of trots. He gallops like a show horse, you know, in certain aspects, which, like, can be annoying for sure, and his jump shot isn't the greatest, but Magic is so good defensively. He distributes the ball. He's 6'9". He can basically allow you to play positionless basketball, which is crazy. So for that reason, I'd put him in S, and he has the badges to kind of outshine LaMelo in certain aspects. Steve Nash, don't like Steve Nash. He's like I don't know, man, like the best card in C tier maybe. I actually like Lowry a lot. I'd put Lowry ahead of him. Dennis Smith Jr., I mean, I like him, but he plays no defense, so C. Baron Davis, I would also put in C tier. He's ahead of CJ McCollum for sure. For sure. Darren Williams sucks. He's not F tier, but he's not good in any way, shape, or form. If he had a better jump shot, he would have been really good, but the jumper they gave him was just garbage. Derek's still B tier, like lower B tier for sure, but he's not the greatest defensively, but you'll still run into Derrick Rose for a reason. Russ, A. I would say A. You can make an argument that he's S tier even because he is elite at rim running. I would say on current gen he's close to S tier. Like, he's very close to S tier on current gen. I would put him in A though, just because you can't really shoot that well, and he is a little bit undersized compared to the guys in S tier. So I would go ahead and put him in A. I mean, you could put him anywhere really. DeJounte Murray, oh yeah, B, for sure, for sure. DeJounte is probably the best card in B tier. I would rank it like this. Donovan Mitchell, it's crazy that this card is still as good as it is, like, to this day. Like, this card came out week 1. Like, we have week 1 cards that are still in B tier. That arguably never happens. Apparently I didn't mix these up at all because we got 3 Dwayne Wades in a row here. We got Pink Diamond Dwayne Wade, I would put towards the top of B tier. I think he's probably the best. Diamond Dwayne Wade, who's like a CJ McCollum, Baron Davis, Kemba Walker level over here in C. And then Amethyst, who's in D tier because he's slow and can't shoot, which is kind of something you need your point guard to be able to do. Gary Payton, I would put in A tier as well. How you rank it in A tier is purely subjective, by the way. I would say Gary Payton is objectively the worst card in A tier, but depending on your playstyle, if you favor Russ or LaMelo, that's entirely up to you personally. I would rank it like this because I think LaMelo's a really, really good 3-hunter, but that's just me. You could put Russ over him because he's just so overpowered. I think I called him Rough. I like that. Gilbert's another weird one. You could put him in A, but I really do think Gary Payton, LaMelo Ball, and Russ are all better than Gilbert, or at least more meta. So I would go ahead and put Gilbert right here. Hal Greer is F. It's just not much I can say about it. Hal Greer was the homie for a little bit last year, though. Like, I ran NBA 75 Hal Greer as my point guard for a little bit. Him and Sam Jones were gas. Like, they were for the budget homies. Yeah, I'm not going to say budget ballers. I'm not going to do it. Isaiah Thomas, IT's okay, like C tier. If he has the duo, he's good. Jalen Brunson, shout out to Brunson. I think he's better than CJ McCollum. Marbury, I would also put at A tier. I think he's probably the worst card in A tier, but I think he's a little bit too good to be in B. Like, you could argue, like, people are going to argue that, like, Gilbert Arenas is better than Marbury because Splash uses Gilbert Arenas, but that's Splash. You have to remember that. That's not you. That's not me. He can kind of take anyone to be good with him. My man was running Ewing in the qualifiers. Like, Marbury is still a better pick for majority of people just because he's able to speed boost really easily. He can dunk. He plays defense. His jump shot isn't terrible. He's just way better Derrick Rose, basically. Amethyst Trey, D. I mean, he can shoot. That's it. Jamal Murray, I mean, I don't like him. I'd put him in D. I mean, you could argue that C tier is appropriate. Dyson Daniels, I would put in C, just because of the lack of badge additions. And he is an excellent defender. Like, he's probably the best defender, or at least one of the best defender under A tier for sure. But the lack of other things leads me to want to put him in B tier or C tier. But I'm going to put him in B because he brings something that no one else really brings to your team at this level, like under A tier. Spud Webb, shout out to Spud Webb. He's really fun to use. D. PD Steph, yeah, PD Steph goes right here. I mean, I'd put him by like Derrick Rose area is pretty appropriate for him, I would say. Jordan Clarkson. See, Evo Jordan Clarkson's actually really good. Like, I wouldn't even argue with you if you wanted to put him in B tier. I think C, like the very top of C, is very appropriate. I mean, no one has this card because why would you? But he's actually kind of decent. Marcus Smart is low B tier for sure. He's not the greatest point guard. I think he plays better as a shooting guard personally, but he's a lockdown defender. He can dunk and his jump shot's easy to time. That is what you get for B tier at this stage. You know what I mean? PD James Harden is solid enough. B. Diamond James Harden, I think, still deserves some sort of C tier love. He's okay. Ja Morant is tough. I would probably put him in C. No, I'd still put him in B. Like, he's still runnable. He just plays no defense. I would put him in this like Garland, De'Aaron Fox, Derrick Rose, Curry area for sure. I think that's appropriate. Steve Francis, I would probably say is the same thing. Like, he'd probably go over here as well. Mike Bibby actually deserves to go over here. He actually plays better defense. I don't know. I'd probably put him like right here. His jump shot's solid. He plays pretty good defense. His tendencies are trash. If you have him evoed, like, he's actually pretty good. Like, B tier is appropriate. Jason Kidd, no offense whatsoever. So it just kind of depends on what you value. I prefer someone like DeJounte Murray because I feel like Jason Kidd's jump shot is horrendous, but that's just me. He's also not a dunker. I mean, I would probably put him like Chris Paul, Donovan Mitchell area. Just depends what you're looking for, really. Hornacek, F. He's not trash because he can shoot, but F. Jeremy Lin, I actually think Jeremy Lin is one of the most underrated point guards in this game. I think Jeremy Lin slaps, dude. He's essentially just like slightly worse Gary Payton, basically. Scary Terry. Scary Terry plays defense. I would put him in B tier, 100%. Joe Dumars by Isaiah Thomas, though I do think Joe Dumars is just like a shade better. I actually like John Starks a lot, but he is like objectively. No, you know what? He's like low C tier. He's pretty good for a Ruby. Jump shot's okay. He just doesn't really move that well. John Stockton, I'd put over here too. He's all right. Like, aggressively okay. John Wall, I still think is like one of the best 3 hunting point guards in this game. And for that reason, I'd put him in A tier. Still plays lockdown defense. 3 hunts with the best of them. Really easy to green jump shot. And he dunks over everybody. I mean, there's really not very many knocks on John Wall. It's just that he's small. Like, that's it. Comparatively to like Magic and Penny, you know. JoJo White, D, whatever. If we get an upgraded JoJo White, he'll be really good, though. Allen Iverson. Glass Cannon B, guys. I think is appropriate. He's super small, but he can get buckets. Like, I don't think you could really separate him from Darius Garland all that much, and Iverson dunks, too. Andrew Nebhard probably goes here, too. He's not awful. He's just kind of, like, in this little range of, like, guys with Gold or Hoff Limitless that can stretch the floor but don't really play that much defense right here in B tier. I think he deserves to be there. Caruso? Oh, yeah. Caruso's a monster still. Some of the best defensive tendencies in this game. He gets more off-ball steals than majority of point guards on this list here. He is so much fun to use. That's my boy. You guys know that. Anthony Simons, very solid, but C. Emerald Jose Alvarado deserves to be in C for sure. Diamond Jose Alvarado is at like the kind of towards the top of C tier. The issue with Jose Alvarado is they messed with his stamina, so he gets tired super easy, and his jump shot kind of sucks. If those two things were rectified, like, I would have no issue throwing Jose Alvarado even as close to like the top of B tier because he is really good, but these are issues. Goran Dragic, I mean, if you have him evoed, he's okay. It's like C, but why would you? Kevin Johnson, I think, is like B tier. He requires badges, but he's like John Morant adjacent, kind of like John Morant, Derrick Rose type area. I think Steve Francis is probably the best out of these. Derrick Rose is pretty good. Ja's still there too, and then it's like Kevin Johnson. I'll throw Bibby over by like no, yeah, right there. Jerry West, I think, is okay. I mean, I would throw him by like Nebhard. He's all right. Like, he's low B tier for sure. Dwayne Wade, looks kind of out of place, him and Gilbert Arenas do, but I do think that like Marbury, Gary Payton, John Wall, LaMelo, and Russ are all so much better than him that he deserves to be here. Most of the time during these tier lists, it's like me fighting with myself. Captain Kirk, yes, low C tier. Imperative that you run Captain Kirk in those higher difficulty settings because he's so good. Kyrie, I kind of hate Kyrie, but C. Barbosa's my boy, but I put him in D. Lonzo, I would say, is also A tier. The only thing that sucks for him is his jump shot isn't really that good, and he's not the greatest movement-wise, but he's really, really good. He is pretty much like Apex Jason Kidd. Like, you know what I mean? The DeJounte Murray, Caruso, Jason Kidd guys, like the guys who they can attack the rim. I mean, Jason Kidd, not so much. That's more for like Caruso and DeJounte, but then they kind of have a whack jump shot, so they're not three hunting. Like, Lonzo is the Apex version of those guys. Really good. Oh wait, I put Diamond Magic up there. My bad. I meant to put Pink Diamond Magic up there. Oops, thought it was Pink Diamond Magic this whole time. Diamond Magic would be down here in B tier. He's still huge, but like not great. PD Magic would be here though, for sure. Like I already covered him anyway. Mahmood, F, not great. Mark Price, D. Michael Adams, F. He's probably the worst out of these guys. Otis Birdsong is in F as well. Penny, yeah, S. Penny's the best point guard in this game. It's not even close. Like, S. Magic deserves to be up here too, but Penny is far and away the best point guard in this entire game. Pistol Pete Maravich, he plays no defense whatsoever, but he can get buckets, so B, why not? Ooh, Rondo D, because he plays really good defense, but that's about it. Ricky Green, trash for sure. Rubio, I'd put in like D, he's alright, whatever. Rod Strickland, F. Scott Skiles, D. Shout out to Scott Skiles, dude. Doing a lot for bald people. Evo Sean Livingston, I think he's in B tier. Like, a blight lower in B tier, but like, he's like a solid enough component of like a Magic that's way cheaper. Steve Kerr, F. Right next to Hornacek. Hate them both. Tim Hardaway, C. Like, somewhere around there. Trey Jones, D. Like, whatever. Tony Parker, D as well. And then finally, to round out the video, a nice, delicious, juicy hot take. Rafer Alston, I think, is legitimately up here towards the top of B tier. The discourse on Rafer Alston is very interesting because you have some guys saying he's absolute dog shit, and then you have other guys saying that he's actually really good. So I'm thinking he's somewhere in the middle where he's kind of like in B tier. I personally think he's okay. Like, he plays really solid for me, so I don't really have any issues with him. I don't think he's the greatest. I would still probably run Caruso over him, but Rafer Alston I think is actually a lot better than you would expect. It's worth it to go grind that takeover just to see if you like him. One of those players where it depends whose hand he's in. Anyways, let me know what you think down in the comments below as far as the tier list. My bad, I mixed up Magics. That's my fault. Pink Diamond Magic here, obviously S tier. Diamond Magic down in B tier, straight up. I don't know when the rest of the tier lists are dropping because I'll obviously be gone for like 5 days, but stay on the lookout for them. Peace.